Good afternoon. We are convening today's joint hearing between the Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs and Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs on two resolutions. We are, in conference room 225. Today is April 20th and time is 3:00 p.m. First measure on the agenda this afternoon is House Concurrent Resolution 186, urging the United States Department of Defense and Defense Health Agency to extend the renewal period for secretarial designee healthcare authorization relating to the Red Hill water contamination crisis and to improve healthcare access for affected individuals. I believe this is your resolution.
Oh, yeah, thank you for describing it so well. On our testifiers list for this measure is Moira Flannery, might be joining us via Zoom.
Yes.
Hi, Moira. Welcome.
Sorry, should I start now?
Yes.
Okay. I am a BSW student at UH Manoa, and I am writing in support of the Bill HCR 186. I do believe that there's been a lasting and deeply concerning impact on the health and well-being, not only of military families, but the civilians and surrounding communities. And I do believe that the exposure that they have been impacted to, and the complications that they have dealt with, I believe that the renewal of this process to help them getting the care that they need without further interruption would provide much needed stability, the continuity of the care and peace of mind just for the people who were impacted. And I think it is an important step to getting them the care that they need without any of the further complications of the healthcare process.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, Moira. We have Ernie Lau from the Board of Water Supply.
Good afternoon, Chair Fukunaga and Chair Wakai and members. Ernie Lau, Board of Water Supply. We stand in support of this House concurrent resolution. Really, I think one of the things that the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine, NASEM, released in their report on the clinical follow-up and care for those impacted by the JP5 releases at Red Hill, stated that it created a public health crisis with lasting impacts. One of NASEM's recommendations was to ensure continued access and continued eligibility for care to individuals that were affected. So this resolution, if the Department of War and the federal government take the recommendations of this resolution, they would extend that care. The impacted families, I believe, are still suffering from the long-lasting effects of Red Hill. NASEM also indicated that there was not too much research or studies done on exposure to jet fuel. So it's very important that they have continued access to care. Thank you.
Thank you for your insights, Mr. Lau. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 186? If not, members, any questions of Mr. Lau or Moira? Okay, if not, I'm going to hand it over to my esteemed co-chair.
Okay. House Concurrent Resolution 200 urges the U.S. Department of Defense to reassess prior determinations and closure decisions under the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act in light of evolving scientific understanding of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances and recent federal hazardous substance designations. For our testifiers this afternoon, we have in person Mr. Lau on behalf of Board of Water Supply, and this is continuing to be a great concern.
Yes, thank you, chairs and members. We strongly support this House Concurrent Resolution 200, which urges the Navy to reassess prior determinations and closure decisions under CERCLA. Pertaining to per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. The military's approach has been really to look at, their first step is to do a kind of a research of their files, to see if they have any records of AFFF or other types of uses. Actually, they focus really on AFFF on their investigations. But although they admitted, the Department of War, previously the Department of Defense, did admit to Congress that there are different types of uses on military installation that may contain PFAS chemicals. So in that literature review, if they don't find any records of AFFF being used on an installation, they'll deem it okay and not really investigate. But that doesn't mean AFFF or PFAS-containing compounds were not used at the facility, because if you remember, it was developed in the 40s and 50s, and there are thousands of different versions of it. So we support the idea of having the military go back and actually test using the current analytical test methods to determine if there is PFAS contamination at the site. We made a recommendation to the Navy at the old IAL laundry site, where they still have a groundwater monitoring well there, to simply go back and sample and test and add that monitor well to the network of monitor wells for the Red Hill situation. They declined that request. But it's very possible that these PFAS were used on sites, just the documentation is very poor. And something that's been used over 60, 70, or 80 years, you might expect that the records may not be the best. But prove it through actual testing, and let science guide what their course of action should be going forward in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lau. We do not have any other testifiers signed up to testify in person. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Senator Richards, for Mr. Lau?
Yep.
Okay,
I can't let him come all this way and not talk story, right?
Thank you, Senator.
This is when I was curious, Mr. Lau. The PFAS, and we've learned more, we collectively as in the scientific community, they refer to it as a forever chemical. Okay, we find it. From your perspective, from industry perspective, okay, and then what? What do we do about it? Is there any collective wisdom that we've decided, okay, looks like this is the path forward? Or is it right now primarily, okay, let's identify, see if we have the problem? Because I concur with what you're saying. Okay, our records say we didn't use it, so we're not going to test for it. I don't think that's the way to go. I think let's see if we have, just to verify. But then if we find it, then what? And do you have any comments on that?
I think that's where, Senator, the biggest challenges that face our community. I do want to be clear. I'm not saying the PFAS contamination only originates from military installations.
Correct, and I agree with that.
It's been used quite broadly, including in our own personal lives. But military installations are well known for having a lot of use that involve PFAS chemicals. I would say then you figure out where the contamination is and see if it's possible to do any remediation or cleanup. For example, in the Red Hill situation, the focus for most of my 12 years in dealing with that since 2014 has been on petroleum contamination. 80-year-old underground fuel storage facility stored many different types of fuels. But then the AFFF concentrate liquid spill of 2022 November opened up the need to look at PFAS. And I urged them for quite a while to do broad testing just to see the occurrence of PFAS. And they did do some baseline testing. It took a few years to get them to do that. And what they found was more PFAS contamination than they anticipated in that facility at a broader area of that facility. So cleanup is going to be our challenge. Because this stuff doesn't degrade or naturally in the environment. It's very stable. It may transform into different types of PFAS chemicals, but it's still there. It moves very easily with the groundwater, and that's our concern. So the cleanup, Senator, I wish there was a simple solution to this problem. I think there are over 12,000 or so of these man-made fluorinated compounds or chemicals created since the 40s. Right now, I think the EPA test methods are maybe good for 40 to 70 of those. So this is a problem that's going to be with us for a long, long time.
Okay, I appreciate that, and that's what I was most curious about, because first, we got to figure out if we have the problem, but then we have to then figure out then what. So, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I think it begins first of all is seeing, do we have a problem or not? And I think using data to drive those decisions versus a check of old files that may not be very well kept is not a good reason to rule out investigation.
I'm sure at the time of the use, nobody worried about it because it was no big deal, because it wasn't understood that this could become a big deal. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank
yeah,
you, Senator.
so I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe as a follow-up, what is the status of the Board of Water Supply's pending litigation, involving the Navy on the spills and recouping some of the costs associated with Board of Water Supply's remediation actions?
Because it's an ongoing litigation, I can't say much about it, but I just do want to just remind everybody, we did file a claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act for about $1.21 billion against the U.S. Navy at Red Hill. I'll just say that the case is still going through the legal process, and it's going to be a while. But Board of Water Supply is committed to see this through the end, for the simple reason that it shouldn't be fair to our ratepayers, our water customers, that they have to foot the bill for new sources and all of that. So I believe the Navy should be held accountable.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Chair.
Question. Hi, thank you. So in 2024, Hawai'i Wells facility detected PFAS, and it's the well that serves the Waianae community, but it wasn't reported to Department of Health until March of 2025. So do you know anything about that process and why it took so long to alert Department of Health, therefore alerting the public?
I'll have to get back to you, Senator, on that. I do know that we want to verify that it's present, and we do test. Hawai'i Wells also has a water treatment system there already, so I can get back to you on why it took so long.
Thank you. And I do remember being a part of that conversation with your staff as well. And I believe that one of the responses was it was such a low reporting level that it wasn't harmful, which again, you can speak with your department. I know you folks are very diligent and accurate with your information, so I want to make sure that I give you that opportunity. But any level is too much level. So I think it's important for the public to know what the reportings are and make sure that they get that firsthand.
Definitely, Senator. I totally agree.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chair. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, if not, we will recess and hopefully have some follow-up.
We want to reconvene our joint committees with the Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs and the Committee on Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs for decision-making on two resolutions. The first one is HCR 186. The two chairs have confirmed. We'd like to move this resolution out as is. But for the Committee on Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs, we do not have quorum. We will be making decisions on this matter tomorrow. That is April 21st at 2 o'clock in this room, 225.
Okay, for PSM committee, same recommendation. I believe we do have quorum, and if we can ask Senator Hashimoto to take the tally. Chair recommends passing in an unamended form.
Members, HCR 186, Chair's recommendation passed unamended. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair's excuse. I vote aye. Senator Inoue is excused. Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On the next resolution, HCR 200, chairs would like to also move this measure out in an unamended form and keep the discussion going to ensure that we get answers at some point for PSM committee. Any questions? If not, then chair's recommendation to vote it out unamended. Chair votes aye.
Members, HCR 200, Chair's recommendation passed on amendment. Any members voting with reservations or noes, with all others voting aye with the noted excuse of Senator Lee and Inoue, Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much.
For EIG, same recommendation to pass the measure out as is. As was noted in the previous measure, we do not have quorum, so we will be taking a vote on this measure tomorrow, April 21st at 2 o'clock in this room. With no further business, we are adjourned.